You know that little tag on your shirt or the stamp on the bottom of your electronics, that made in label? Well, it's starting to tell a completely new story about how our world is connected. And trust me, it's a fascinating one.
For decades, the answer to where was this made was pretty predictable, right? But behind the scenes, there is a massive global rewiring going on. So what's the deal? Why is the world's factory floor all of a sudden packing up and moving out?
And look, this isn't some abstract, high level economic theory. We're talking about the biggest brands out there, the stuff you use every single day. From your shoes to your kitchen appliances to the toys your kids are playing with, these iconic companies are totally rethinking how and where they make their products. Okay, so the first and maybe the biggest piece of this whole puzzle is a huge strategic pivot. For a long, long time, the global manufacturing map had one country right at the center of it all. But that is changing fast. Welcome to the Great Production Migration. This really lays it out, the before and after. The old playbook was all about a China-centric world. The new focus? It's all about diversification. Companies are spreading their bets, they're building up serious production power in places like Vietnam, India, and all across Southeast Asia. And this isn't just an idea, it's really happening. Take a look. Nike is putting its massive sneaker operations in Vietnam and Indonesia. The company that owns the North Face and Vans, they're moving apparel production to Vietnam, Bangladesh, and India. Even toy giants like Hasbro and Mattel are spreading out to Vietnam and India. It is a strategic de-risking, plain and simple. So what's sparking all this movement? Well, one of the big catalysts is regulation, specifically a U.S. law called the UFLPA. Now, what this does is it basically forces companies to prove, with receipts, that their products have no connection to forced labor in China's Xinjiang region. And that has made supply chain transparency absolutely critical. But shifting production around Asia is only half the story. The other major strategy we're seeing isn't about finding the next faraway factory. It's about moving production much, much closer to you, the customer. This is what everyone is calling nearshoring. So what the heck is nearshoring? Well, you've probably heard of offshoring, right? Sending jobs overseas. This is the exact opposite. Instead of making something on the other side of the planet, companies are moving production to a country right next door. And for the huge US market, next door almost always means Mexico and Central America. And as you can see, different companies are using their own nearshoring playbook. Whirlpool is leaning into its existing plants in the US and Mexico. Levi's is bringing blue jean production closer to home in Mexico. Tempur Sealy is using North American plants for big, bulky items. And Skechers is even using Mexico for final assembly to get new shoe styles to market way faster. But why are they doing this? Well, the benefits are huge. When production is closer, your cycles are way faster. A new design can hit stores in weeks instead of months. And because you're faster, you don't need to keep giant warehouses full of inventory, which saves a ton of money. Plus, you can be smarter about taxes and trade duties. It's a win-win-win. So, we've seen companies literally changing the map of where they do business. But just moving pins on a map isn't enough. To make all this work, they are rewriting the entire operational rulebook. Let's take a look at what that new playbook involves. First up, logistics. The name of the game now is agility. Whirlpool, for example, is actively juggling which U.S. ports it ships into, just to avoid all those backups we've heard about. Skechers is getting creative with how it packs containers, basically playing Tetris with shoeboxes to get more in. It's all about being flexible. The financial tactics are getting a lot smarter, too. Companies are now building things like cost escalators right into their contracts so they're protected from inflation. They're setting up deals so that if shipping costs suddenly spike, the pain is shared. And like Mattel does here, they're making strategic pre-buys, stocking up on inventory right before they think a new tariff is going to hit. And finally, the changes go all the way down to the product level itself. To comply with those new laws, companies are building these incredible tracking systems. Think of it like a birth certificate for every product, tracing it all the way from raw material to finished good. They're also redesigning packaging or even swapping out products in a toy line, all just to hit a specific price point. All right, so we've talked about migration, nearshoring, and this whole new playbook of tactics. But let's bring it back home. What does all this corporate strategy actually mean for us, the people buying all this stuff? After all these shifts and changes, what's the ultimate goal here? What is the one big idea that's driving this entire global rewiring? This quote really says it all. For decades, the whole game was just about one thing: finding the absolute cheapest labor on the planet. That era? It's over. Today, the winners are the companies that can build the smartest, fastest, and most resilient supply chains, the ones that can bend without breaking. So, the single most important takeaway here is this massive shift from a cost first mindset to a resilience first mindset. These new supply chains are being built for speed and flexibility. The goal isn't just about making things cheap anymore. It's about making sure the products you want are actually on the shelf when you want them, no matter what else is going on in the world. This whole movement is a huge bet on an entirely new way of doing business, and it leaves us with one big question for the future. As all these companies build their supply chains to be faster and closer, will that also make them truly stronger and more sustainable in the long run? I guess only time will tell.